do a quick update to make sure my audio working because I have often done these and had no audio on them. So I'd like to verify it. Update to make sure my audio working. All right, so I'm gonna just do a brief update. I said that I'll start kind of running a video journal on how the crypto market is performing in regards to the 19 method that I often speak about, right? So, kind of running a video journal on this. It is open live, so I have posted a link over in Twitter. And if anybody follows my YouTube or has the notifications, you can hit the link. Man, I don't know how I can put that on YouTube. That's probably interesting. But yeah, over in Twitter and come join in. So, um, but other than that, it's just going to be a quick overview, right quick. So I'm going to start off with XRP. So most people probably know me from the XRP community and interested in what's going on with XRP. And then we'll take a few looks at some other things right quick. So um, just a moment here. So as we can see, it's not a whole lot going on here, right? But the method is still very much holding true. So we did get a break on the 19 here, right? And that was your early in on the daily if you wanted to, not wait on the weekly, which is higher, right? I wouldn't go any lower than the daily, but here was your break on the daily. That was an entry point. We can see how the successive EMA was well, previously the resistance here. I mean, no, it was kind of the resistance here. It broke through that, right? And went to its next successive resistance, lost that, right? We started getting crosses, so we knew that was going to increase the momentum to the downside. We kind of lost the 19 there, so that was your out point. We don't know what the future may hold, so at this point, we're just kind of holding steady to see, if it's going to go lower or if we're going to break above this 19 again, and we'll jump back in. Has it got anywhere near weekly, which is more important thing that we're looking for, because that's our longer trend to let us know that the what people are calling bull market or bear market is kind of turned. Right now, anything within this daily range can always turn back, as we see that it's done a few times here, right there, here, and here. So we see the fluctuations in the dailies, but if you want to catch these early entries, it's quite all right, right? Just make sure that if it turns back like it did here, you're back out, right? And prepared to get back in. If it, breaks above, goes down, you're just making more XRP, so that's fine. Like, this is the way that this is supposed to work. Because if you had got the entry here, right, where it broke above and took the early entry, as I mentioned in some of my previous videos, you actually, if you went by the hard rule of, and you didn't sell the so-called top here at resistance, right? You were trying to be a trader. If you just stuck to the rules, you even got out at a small profit, right? Because there was a gap between here at the entry point, 33.47, and your actual out was about 34.64. So not only did you make a little small profit, right, but your entry point could have been as low as here if you wanted to jump back in here and look for a rejection at the 19, or you're just holding looking for a rejection, right? And you'll stay out. If it breaks above, you take all what you have and, in this kind of allocated to this kind of move, right? And then you stay in and look forward to break this resistance and go up and try to tap this next resistance. So um, somebody did mention to me, man, to kind of go back to the basics before I go any further. So I will I will start off by saying, if you're very new to this, right, it's just tradingview.com up here at the top. This is the site that I use. It's free unless you want to pay for some of the other tools. I don't really find it necessary, so I don't do it. Um, but yeah, my theory revolves around the moving average, exponential moving average, just to be more specifically, right? And so if you don't know how to set up your chart so that it shows what I'm looking at here, right, you have to look here at the top and it'll say indicators, right? So you go to an indicator and you'll look for the one that says like multi EMA is the easiest one to use because you're going to be using multiple, not just one. And you pull up the EMA. Once you pull up the EMA, it'll give you these lines here. I have two of them up. I'm not using that third one right now. And then to change the inputs to reflect the numbers that I'm using, you hit the settings button and you hit inputs, and then you'll have to arrange it. So I'm using a combination of 3, 11, 19, 38, 64, right? and then you can change the colors here in style so that you can differentiate what each exponential moving average is. Um, but yeah, and then I come over here, it's the same thing. You have your rest of your inputs, 60, 70, 80. I mean, you can see the difference, 62, 78, 83, 105, 200. Generally, just by tens almost, right? It's kind of how I'm tracking these, as you can tell. Um, Everything trades off the 19, but as I stated in previous videos, having these other ones up is important because it gives you important visuals of momentum swings and resistances and support. So that's how you would set it up, right? So for anybody who's that new, doesn't know how to set it up, I hope that section of it at least shows you how to set up the moving averages to get this visual that I have here, right? So right now, that's a look at the daily for XRP. I will go up to the weekly because this is the thing that's most important and where we're looking for the trend to turn, and how we look on a longer time frame, right, which is more important than the shorter time frame. So from a long-term perspective, we haven't got much going on, right? We broke down way back here, and there was not even a penetration of the 9. So, like I say, if you're more conservative and you're more on this weekly chart, you didn't have to catch any of these early entries if you didn't want. You're just still kind of holding out here. You may even want to consider making that entry if you're just doing the weekly at a 9, possibly, right? Um, if you didn't do it on the daily. I mean, it's all up to you when I don't give financial advice, but you have a lot of options. But if you're one of these weekly people, as you can tell, you had no indication to do much of anything. We never broke the resistance here at the 9, definitely didn't threaten the 19. So it's just wait and hold to see how far this 19 will continue to go down so that we'll know when to definitely be back in and catch the uptrend. But right now, we're just kind of holding. Interesting enough, a lot of people are wondering where the bottom is, where support is, I should say, because with XRP, we don't, well, anyway, where support is, right? Because we don't see anything below here if you're looking at your weekly chart, right? So again, all you have to do is go up to your higher time frame. In this case, it'll be the monthly, and without changing any of your inputs or your indicators, right? Your booyah support, or what is now the bottom until we have a further bottom, is holding pretty steady right there, right on your indicators. So without having to manipulate this in any way, um, using the same numbers I always use, you can find that support, that bottom is holding pretty good right there. So nothing has changed. We're just waiting to see how this market plays out right now, in regards to XRP. If you are catching those daily entries, just make sure that you're disciplined enough to catch them, and understand that if you took the entry, right, you have to also make sure that you take the exit. Discipline is what's going to make this performance, what accuracy of your performance using this method. So if you take the entry, you have to, by discipline, by rule, make sure you took the out, because you lost the 19 right there. um yeah, and that's pretty much what we're looking at. It's using the 3 as resistance right now. So we just sit and wait. We look over at Bitcoin quickly. Kind of same actual dynamics are going on. So it's not much to say. Same break, same out. Kind of threatening the 19 a little more than XRP is at the moment. It's getting above the 3. So it's a little stronger at the moment, but almost basically the same dynamics. So if we want to take a peek in on the longer time frame, the weekly, that's what we're looking at. Excuse me. That's what we're looking like. Under the 3 here, no real momentum, never broke the 9. We don't want to see this 19 eventually come down here and break this, because that would be bad, and definitely would indicate to me that we'd be probably setting a new low from where we are now. But yeah, you just don't want to see that. At some point, you want to see this turn V up and get away from this line, or even tap in and turn up. But yeah, we don't want to cross of these two for sure. But yeah, that's where we're sitting. Nothing special going on over there. We do have some appending crosses up here higher, like this one, and potentially crossing here. Like all of this could continue the downward momentum. Let's look up on the monthly for Bitcoin. Interesting dynamics here for most of your people particularly who are Bitcoin holders or whatever, or just watch Bitcoin to see the health of the market. But we have this actual EMA here that has been our bottom historically, right? Bitcoin's never reached this. EMA here up set for this wick, right? So we did have a wick, but I'm talking about as far as a candle, right? So that right now is still pretty much our support, or kind of bottom if you want to call it that. And until that breaks, we have no, you know, we shouldn't be in any worry that Bitcoin's really going into these lower numbers that a lot of people are still talking about 10,000, 4,000, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I would kind of ignore that noise. We actually have great support here at this EMA, right? It's no coincidence. They're always at the EMAs, right? So we have great support here at the EMA. We can see these successive EMAs providing the actual resistance. So we're squeezed in for there for right now. If for any reason we happen to lose this EMA here that has been historically our bottom or support or lowest support, then I'm making no anticipation that it'll break this level here at about 15,629. I have no reason to think that it'll breach that, as far as maybe a wick, but no reason to breach that, at least until it does, right? So I'm not calling for lower numbers until we get confirmation that it loses the supports that are clearly and obviously here. And if we look back historically, right, it holds consistently as these new moving averages kind of matriculate over time. So we just got this one here back in 20, right? And it has never, of course, breached it or even threatened it much, right? So I would think this support is so strong that I wouldn't anticipate losing it. And if we do, then, of course, anything is possible. But of course, these give you indicators of when to potentially be selling as well, right? If you're not already out, right? Like if this loses here, right, then that may be an obvious kind of sell signal to say it may at least come down here and catch this support. If for some reason it loses this support, then I would definitely be taking some Bitcoin off the table in anticipation that it could go to any number down here, and you have no clue what it would be, but at least you're not having these unrealized losses, I will admit, right? Because it could always bounce and return, but instead of having an realized loss, you could have a real gain. So, I mean, they work very well, and they're still holding consistently. So I just wanted to kind of update on that. No, the market is kind of dictated by how it holds up against the dollar. So I'll take a quick look in over here at the dollar, as I often do. And so yeah, as we can see, at least from this monthly chart, the dollar is just very real, very strong. But let's get a look back on the daily right quick. And on the daily, yep, it's still showing strength, right? So we kind of bring this back down. So we had it do this kind of breakout here, and it's been holding strong above the 19 the entire time. Got up to here to kind of most recent high in years at about 109. Cooled off a little bit, but held this as support pretty good. A few little breaches up under. So, but this is a daily, all right, and then broke right back above the 9 and above the 3. So right now the dollar is once again showing strength. Doesn't look like that trend is turning on the dollar, and by trend, of course, I always refer to that as the weekly, right? So we don't have a trend turn on the dollar until it loses, as of today's number, somewhere around 103.58. So it's holding above the 3, never breached the 9. Dollar is just showing strength, which means the crypto market will probably be delayed, and other assets too, right? But crypto market will be delayed, at least to what I've been saying all along about my theory, until we get a trend turn of this dollar, which will happen when it loses this 19 exponential moving average. So that's a look at the dollar. I'm going to quickly look at something interesting here, because I know a lot of people are following quant, and I showed it in some previous videos, I believe. But on the weekly, right, we had got that break, right, which is one of those things we look for a longer time frame. But as we know, we can get fake outs, right? So it came up here, used this successive new EMA as resistance, right? And then we're threatening now, right? We actually kind of lost it wick wise, right? It came down here, 9 provided support, even though it wicked below it tadly, right? But basically it kind of provided support, got back above the 19. So oddly enough, even from a longer perspective, right, as we got the trend turn here, That little trend turn here for now is providing some support for quant, and it's back above its kind of longer trend 19 on a weekly chart. So quant is showing some strength here. So just kind of wanted to dip in and show that for people who might have been messing with this quant. Oddly enough, even from a longer term perspective right now against the rest of the market, quant showing strength. So what you want to see here on quant now is for this white line, which is the 3. You want that to cross over this 19, confirm that, and it looks like quant's going to go up here, and I'll probably at some point in time try to test this other success moving average, this in succession to the higher number EMAs, right? So you may get a test up here around 130, and we just kind of see what happens. But being that this is a weekly chart, that could show some longer term strength, right? And I would just say it's interesting to keep watch of what's going on with quant for all the quant people out there. Um, so yeah, another interesting I looked in on and found some weird strength was right here on ETH Classic. So actually, ETH Classic or Ethereum Classic or whatever you want to call it, is getting that cross that we were. Yeah, it breached the same 19, right? And we're still on a weekly chart. Breached that 19. We got the 3 cross, right? That I was talking about. We need for quant, and it came up here and tested the next successive EMA. Now it's rejecting off of it a little bit, but I mean it's showing even more strength in quant. So, and this is a weekly chart. So ETH is showing some real strength here, oddly enough. Needs to turn that EMA from crossing down, of course. That would confirm this rejection and probably hover it around in here, and you have to see what's going on. On the positive side, if you get this blue one to come up and cross over the 19, may propel you to get past these other resistances you have here, because you got 1, 2, 3, 4, or so, depending on which ones, because they're so close. Maybe a number, but anyway, if we can get this cross, the 9 above that 19, maybe the 3 also above here, right, you'll get enough momentum swing to push it past these, and that'll be very interesting for ETH Classic. So I thought that was interesting, for anybody who's maybe into ETH Classic or just want to know how it may relate to the strength of the market, even on its monthly chart, right? Rejecting that 9 away from the 19, threatening the 19 here. If ETH Classic can break above that from a monthly chart, man, that would be that would be a trade that I may have to even look at. And I don't even mess with ETH Classic, but just using the method, man, it's definitely blinging interesting, right? Here was your previous break, and that's what it did, right? That's how powerful the breaks of the 19 can be. And here was your loss. Here, when it lost it, got out, made you some ETH Classic, right? You had another in over here that netted you, and then another out, right? If you bought down here at these lower lows, you're looking to see if you're going to get a rejection, you stay out. And if it breaks past, man, ETH would have been a great trade. So just a quick look in on ETH, right? What else can I cover just real quick? Because I didn't want to make this very long. Ethereum is showing some strength right quick. I'll quickly look in on that. But yeah, we look on the monthly chart. We see clear support. We don't have to manipulate or change our numbers. That is probably our last support that ETH will have right there. So I wouldn't anticipate ETH definitely breaking 762 in any kind of way if I had to make a prediction. So that would be what I would be looking at for ETH right now. It's just showing strength and getting back up here. It tested that 3 on a monthly. So, and we don't want to see that 9 cross the 19 right there. Obviously, I just saw that. So that's what you have going on with ETH, but it's definitely showing some strength as well. I'll quickly come over here, as I mentioned in some previous videos, about this coin market cap and how I use it. So if we look over here for today's numbers, volumes are just down overall. Like, this is normally in the billions, and this is not far off. We can see like the numbers are just down. XRP usually hundreds, right? At least 100, 112 or so. It's down at 59. So volumes are down today. If we're looking at inflows in the crypto, as I interpret this column, I know it's not what it may directly reflect, but that's how I interpret it. And interpreting that way, it does give you an interesting perspective that I find useful. So overall, as I said, volumes are down. but our outlier is today is Polygon. It's not really a top crypto as far as top 5 or 6, but it's breaking in inflows, and we can see its impact over here at 7%. XRP is kind of in its range, even though volumes are low, right? Low 2%, right? Let's see, Cardano is kind of in its range. Cosmos is kind of an outlier here today. It's not having much of an impact. I have to look on the charts to see if it already kind of pumped and waned already. But Quantum is one of those outliers. It's not one of the big cryptos, but it's among the top in inflows, and we see its impact over here, almost 8%. BNB is kind of its average, but Avalanche probably, I guess, would say kind of among its average. And then whatever this coin here is, I don't even know. But yeah, it popped from the bottom to the top 12 amongst coins you obviously know are stronger in the market, and we see what its impact is. So as an outlier, this direct column definitely indicated that something was going on with that project. For people who kind of chase those kind of coins, I'm not a coin chaser at all. I just use these metrics to kind of tell me what's going on with the ones that I do participate in, right? So primarily XRP, and I see what's going on there. Quick little look at the oh well, I may not even be changing screens here, and I'm doing all the talking. God dog. Here, let me just go back and change the screen and recover that quickly. My bad. I forgot I put it on. Stop screen. All right, so I apologize about that, but there go your columns. As we can see, volumes are low, as you couldn't tell when I was talking before. There goes your outlier, Poly at 8. There goes your Quantum at 8. There goes your RAD at whatever this is, 12. But it was showing different numbers a minute ago. That's pretty odd too. It was like at 20-some percent. So anyway, yeah, just wanted y'all to be able to see that. My bad that I didn't have it up previously. Quick over here, the inflows in the XRP as far as currency by nation. Essentially 43% Tether, Korea pumping in $17 at 13, Euro at 5.87, Binance USD at 3, USDC at essentially 3, Japan and Bitcoin pushed all the way down to 8. So I'm always pleased to see Bitcoin pushed down to these numbers, really being threatened here by Mexican peso. So it could slip as low as 9 at any moment. Probably has been flipping back and forth. I didn't notice. But yeah, this means the influence of Bitcoin has lessened significantly on XRP's price discovery. So that's good to see. Tether is still very low at 40, but eventually I'd like to see that change, right? What I'm really looking for on a longer term scale is USDC volumes to increase, right? So I'd like to see them pass up Binance, and I'd probably be a long time before it threatens Tether, but just kind of move up in volumes closer and replace some of this USDT volume. But that's just my personal thing, right? We see British pound still in here, Philippines still running good, India's numbers are significantly down. We want that to kind of maintain about a 10 million or so, 9 million or so. So we're just running a low volume day. South Africa's still in here, Australia, Malaysia, and then we get in some of the lower numbers. But yep, it's interesting to see how XRP is performing in that regard. Kind of covered all the other basics, so I am going to keep this video kind of short, but I just wanted to keep a video log of, excuse me, get this back. There we go. I just want to keep a video log of how my method is performing over time, so it doesn't seem like I'm saying this in any way in hindsight or anything like that. And if for any people who are interested in information, you can always go to my YouTube and kind of find these. If I can do them more often, I can. If I can't, I'll try to do them at least once a week. We did have a very interesting update as far as in the XRP case, and that John Deaton was allowed to stay on as a Michi counsel. So I think that was excellent news. It shows the judge's intent to respect the law and not have any bias in favor of government officials in their complaints. And it gets a lot of information that may not have been presented by the Ripple lawyers in the way that John's going to present it for the behalf of the XRP holders. So that was great news. We can only see how things go forward. But I'm encouraged that things are looking good. As I have mentioned before, I'm not looking for Ripple to win this case and become the value creator for XRP. But I am interested in the case because, of course, if the SEC is successful, right, then it could kill, or significantly impact, a neutral asset, an open source permissionless asset that was really created for the world, that the SEC is trying to pigeonhole into being something that was only for Ripple. So yeah, it's significant from that impact, but my thesis is still kind of remain the same, in that I'm expecting people to understand that, contrary to a lot of opinions from people who are detractors of XRP, it is not a scam. It is not a Ponzi scheme. It is none of those things, right? It's a virtual cryptographic currency with many features, including a DEX and pathfinding and able to validate transactions and use for so many other uses. The developers who are building those things are out there building them, right? And so you use the ledger how you see fit. Other people use the native asset, which is the virtual currency, as they see fit, right? Because there's no certainty in any of these nations and how their assets hold up over time. And so I don't expect a profit per se. When I buy XRP, I expect it to be what it just is and how I use it. But if during the time that I hold it, I live in the United States, if the dollar happens for some reason to, start to lose its value significantly, right? Historically, XRP has performed well when the dollar is weak. So I'm hedging, my financial sovereignty and the fact that I don't want to be all in dollars and have that depreciation. If something happens, I can set more currency over here, right, in anticipation that if the inevitable happens, right, I can probably take advantage of the situation that there's a difference in value, right, but I don't perceive that as a profit, right. That happens in the dynamics of a lot of assets, right, that are definitely not securities. So that's how I view it. That's how it benefits me, even trading, right, as we're describing here, because I profit off of these moves, yes, but that's not off the efforts of others in any way, right? It's just me having this access to this currency, and then I can use this currency in these trades, right, off of my own efforts, right? So that definitely has nothing to do with Ripple as well. And this is, what I try to explain as far as my 19 method, right? And like nothing about this has anything to do with Ripple, because not only if you want to make the argument that Ripple can convince people that they're going to find this worldwide use case, and people are speculating on that, then if you want to attribute that to those kind of efforts, then you also have to come here and say that this loss, right, would have been the efforts of theirs as well, right? And if you're using this kind of method, right, you're not even taking these losses as the efforts of others would have had you locked into, right? You're making your own efforts make you profitable in spite of what Ripple does, or in regards to any company in that case. I'm not singling out Ripple, but I'm just trying to make the point. So it's a virtual currency, people. It has many features because of the ledgers that it exists on. And I do expect more businesses, financial type businesses, and others, right? We know NFTs are coming, DeFi, just so many things, like just being able to use it as a password into other sites in Web2. Like there's just so many possibilities that people can just think of. Your imagination becomes the only limitation, right? But the native asset is just a currency. And so I really object to the SEC's portrayal of it as a security, and even the descriptions that they use, right, trying to imply that everything is tied to the efforts of Ripple is just basically asinine. because I've used it myself for years for completely different purposes. When, Ripple has been trying to, survive and continue their mission with ebbs and flows of success, right? It has never had any impact on my ability to succeed as an individual based on the information and, good moves I make or bad moves that I make, right? So it's all dependent on me. And I encourage other people to view it the same, right? If you're a business person, you're coming in and figuring out how can this currency impact my business, right? Do I need to be hedging some of my business into XRP so that, that revenue 10x's and moves like this, right? As far as this evaluation to the dollar, right? That may be important for your business, right? To, not have the impact of higher capital cost or, degradation from the, loss of the dollar, right? You can use the asset and your business can perform in different macro climates to the U.S. economy based on being able to have currency hedging. It's really just as simple as that. So, yep, I'm going to end this now for sure, as I wanted to be short and it's not much longer. So, thank anyone who catches this. I look forward to any comments and y'all and hope you prosper, man. Stay safe.